All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Please like and subscribe if you like this content, and turn notifications on if you want to see future videos. I will also post some stuff in the description below, like my Twitter account, etc. We're going to be talking about Ethereum today, so I'm really bullish on this one in the short term. I think Ethereum is severely undervalued right now, especially compared to a lot of the other coins that have been, well, especially Bitcoin. I think Ethereum is very undervalued compared to Bitcoin, and I think I think we're heading towards some good times in the coming months. So I want to go ahead and jump into where Ethereum is, and I'll also be talking a lot about Bitcoin, just because they're very highly related to one another. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the daily chart for Ethereum. And we're going to go ahead and hide these moving averages, and we're just going to look at the 50-day and the 200-day. So you can see this was a golden cross when the 50-day crossed over the 200-day, and then once it crossed back, it's a death cross. If you guys remember, if you watch any of the videos, a lot of altcoins are following this similar pattern of this golden cross followed by a death cross. Now, not all coins are. I mean, there are many coins back from the ICO craze of 2017 that will never recover, but there are definitely a lot that will, if history has shown us anything. And one of the things is that Bitcoin actually had the similar pattern actually back in 2015. It had a golden cross and then a death cross, and then it was the next golden cross, which is when Bitcoin took off. And if you look at the weekly chart for Bitcoin, you can see that the 20-week moving average, which historically is held as support in a bull market, was held after the second golden cross, not the first one. So after the first golden cross, which occurred on July 15th, which would be around here on the weekly, you can see that it actually came back down, broke the 20-week, and then it wasn't until much later that it held it as support. Now Ethereum, so a lot of altcoins do this thing where they skyrocket once Bitcoin reaches its all-time high, and once Bitcoin kind of reaches this final plateau, and then this is really when altcoin season takes off. But as I mentioned before, Ethereum actually has a huge season of its own once Bitcoin holds the 20-week moving average. So just briefly, if you look here, once Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average in, let's say like January, February, so basically it was in quarter one of 2016 when Bitcoin held the 20-week. And then if we go back to Ethereum to see what it did in February, or the first quarter of 2016, you can see this massive run-up in price. Which actually, if we just take a measured move, so let's just go from January up to this peak here, in about 2 months, Ethereum went up around 1,500%. And this is once Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average. It also went up in the first quarter of 2017, and this corresponded to when Bitcoin hit its previous all-time high. And here it went up, if you take it from the bottom up to the top, it went up 6,200%. And then in December, this is when I'm sure many of you guys remember this phase when Bitcoin was reaching 20,000, and then Ethereum had this massive run up to $1,400. And if we just take a measured move from, say, this peak or this low here out up here, it's around 500% or so. So this is these are pretty noticeable things with Ethereum, that they seem to be really correlated with Bitcoin when Bitcoin is doing something that's quite notable. So if we look at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, we're curious. The first step for Ethereum to really take off in this next bull cycle is once Bitcoin holds the 20-week moving average. Now, similar to 2015, it broke the 20-week moving up, and we were all hoping it would hold it as support. If it held it as support, I think Ethereum would have. That would have been when Ethereum would have taken off, but it did not hold it at support, and instead it dropped down to the 100-week moving average, and now it's holding the 20-week as resistance. So we are going to really be looking to Bitcoin in terms of figuring out where we think Ethereum is headed. I think if Bitcoin, if we can get the 20-week moving average to be held as support in the next few months, I think we're going to see Ethereum really take off. Now, one of the things I want to show you guys with Ethereum is that if you look at the weekly chart, it kind of has this repeating fractal pattern. So just this is a log scale. So it has this downtrend here, followed by this massive surge upward, a peak, and then a second peak. Okay, and then it kind of trails off into this bear market, and then it comes all the way down, and then at some point it comes back up and then takes off. Okay, so compare this downtrend here and this downtrend here. So we go down and we go peak, peak, down, and then we go peak, peak, all the way down. Okay, so we are with Ethereum. I think fairly soon, we're in this kind of this downtrend where we're really not doing a whole lot. At some point, I really do think we're going to see another one of these pretty large moves, and this is really more pronounced actually on the Bitcoin chart. So you can see this move downward, up, and then we have two peaks followed by this bear cycle, or this this basically where we don't really do much, and then a sharp decrease down, and then we go up. We have this first peak, second peak, bear market, and then right at the end we have this this channel here, and now we're in this channel. And if we look at some of these moving averages to see if they line up with anything, you can see that back here when Ethereum, after it had this huge this bear market that lasted for many months, it came up, and once it went to the 20-week moving average, okay, and this is, remember, with Bitcoin, this was when Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average, was in the first quarter of, this was when Bitcoin, here it's when Bitcoin hit a previous all-time high, so here is when it held the 20-week moving average. Sorry about that. So you can see that once Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average, this is when Ethereum shot up. And currently we're looking, if we compare this time frame to this time frame, you can see that right before Ethereum takes off, at least in the last cycle, it likes to hug this 20-week moving average for a bit, and that's what we're currently doing. So where could this be headed? If Bitcoin can get back above the 20-week, then I think Ethereum is going to be super bullish in the short term. Typically, the end of the year is when Ethereum does the best. I mean, you can see here, this is in December of 2015, and then going into the first quarter, it had a massive run. Here it's December of 2016, going into the first quarter of 2017, it had a massive run. And then here in November of 2017, going into the first quarter of 2018, it had a massive run with respect to Bitcoin. So, I mean, even in 2018, it did have a run with respect to Bitcoin. It wasn't really that great, but it was following this this massive bull cycle that it went through. So really, where we are now is we're at the end of this long bear market with respect to Bitcoin, and we are looking to just break through. I mean, I'm not even talking about a slow, steady gain. I'm talking about, like, at some point, I think within the next few months, we're going to see this just skyrocket up. Maybe not that high, but I think it's fairly likely that we could see a really large move in Ethereum. I mean, there's a whole lot of things coming for it. I mean, not only do you have Ethereum 2.0 coming, but you have all sorts of coins that are still using Ethereum to build their contracts on. I mean, even though there's a lot of other coins that you could build contracts on, that are either in development or they've already been developed. I mean, Ethereum is the one that is proving the test of time so far, and is really where most people are really putting their trust, is in Ethereum. So with like I mentioned again with Bitcoin, we had the golden cross, the death cross, and then the golden cross. Right now with Ethereum, we've had this golden cross and then the death cross, and you can already see we're turning over here. So I think once we can move this, once we can kind of complete this concave up pattern and cross the 200-day moving average, I really think it's going to correspond with a lot of good things for Ethereum, including hopefully Bitcoin holding the 20-week moving average, which you can see over here. So I don't know if Bitcoin's going to hold it right now or not. I mean, it's pretty dubious as to whether it's going to. I mean, it's kind of been trickling down here for a little bit. Either we're going to come back down to the 100-day, or sorry, not the 100-day, the 100-week. The next area I think would be the 50-week. But the 50-week currently is at around $7,000, so it wouldn't be completely unheard of for us to go back to this point. But anyways, if you can imagine with Ethereum, it just either coming down a little bit more, or if it just kind of sorry, this is the wrong tool. Let's use a marker. So really, if we're just going to draw this out, if this were to continue like this, then we would, then we'd want to see something like that. This isn't, obviously I'm not drawing these the best. This would not come down this far, but you can just imagine that these averages could do something like this, where they really go off to the races. So sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice a little. Anyways, I think that basically covers it. Actually, there is one more thing I think that's very important that you should know with Bitcoin in terms of also identifying a bull cycle, is looking at the RSI. So if you look at the RSI on the weekly, which is a lot more powerful than, say, the daily, if you draw the line here, and if let's just take a trend line here and draw a line out, you can see that there's a pretty well-defined support region. Okay, so in a bull market, this level at around 55 on the RSI is consistently held as support. So you can see it pretty clearly throughout this time. Once Bitcoin holds that 20-week moving average, in fact, holding it corresponded exactly to the support. And then it held this line as support throughout the entire bull market. It wasn't until in 2018, early 2018, that we broke this, and from then we were below it for the entire year of 2018. Now we've broken above it recently, and then we've come back down below it. So clearly, I mean, this already says that the bull market hasn't officially begun. Not only because the 20-week moving average hasn't been held, but also because the RSI is dropping all the way down to 44 or so on the weekly time frame. So to see a bull market like we've previously seen, we really need to hold this as support. So we will keep an eye on what the RSI is doing. If it's going to come back down, then that just means we have a little bit more time to accumulate Ethereum. And if it comes up and Bitcoin holds a 20-week moving average, then I don't think you guys should, you shouldn't blink, because when Ethereum takes off, it can do it really quickly. I mean, these are weekly candles, but you can see that it went from, let's say, from this candle all the way up to this candle in about 4 weeks. It went up 400% with respect to Bitcoin. So, you can really miss these huge gains if you're not careful. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Remember, if you do like this material, please like and subscribe and turn notifications on. I do have a Twitter as well as plenty other social media accounts that you guys could follow. Alright guys, bye.